I did it 1 minute, Councillor Kerensky. Today I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the Governance Committee meeting of the 20th of July 2022. I declare this meeting open at 11:57. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. For the duration of today's meeting, I will be the acting chairperson following Councillor Wilcox's resignation from the role at the last ordinary council meeting. I would like to advise the public that the appointment of this position will be considered at the upcoming ordinary council meeting. Councillors, just on to attendance and leave of absence. We have no leave of absence. And we're going to go straight into a motion that is on the board to see if there is sentiment to adjourn this meeting for a break. So, councillors, the motion is up on the board for us this meeting to be adjourned from 11:58 a.m. Wednesday the 20th of July 2022 until 12:30 p.m. Wednesday, July 2022. Can I please get a mover for the motion? Mr. Mayor has. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Wilcox. All those in favour? Can you please leave your hand up? So I've got the Mayor, Councillor Russell, Councillor Fraser and Councillor Wilcox. Can I show sentiments of against? Can you just leave your hands up for the minute clerks, please? I'll be a 4, sorry. Just a minute, please. So we've got Bradley, Lane, Kerensky, Raven, Hall, Heremiah, sorry Jacob, I had a blank, Bannon and Stemp. So we're going to keep going and soldier on. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, with your indulgence today, we will be reorganising the order in which we refer to the agenda and begin with item 8.1 on the agenda today. Can the Acting Community Services Manager, Mr. Trevor Kanapi, please enter the discussions? But before we open discussions on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, I note that items 8.1, 4.1, 7.1 and 9.1 are all confidentials. I would like councillors to consider that we go into a closed session to discuss all of these reports rather than moving in closed session for each individual. No, Councillor Bradley. So, do I do a vote there? So there's a vote up on the board that if we could go into closed session. Can I get a mover for that?
Need to ask if there's any conflicts of interest
I have just been told by Robert, is there any conflicts of interest, please, relating to any councillors in 8.1, 4.1, 7.1 or 9.1? There being none, are councillors interested in moving into confidential for all 4? So Councillor Bradley has moved that. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Raven, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Please keep them up. Councillor Power, Bradley, Russell, Raven, Hall, no. Fraser, Stemp, where's Wilcox? No, not here. And myself.
Okay, so how did Lane vote?
How did Lane vote?
Against.
Councillor Kerensky?
Against.
Councillor Hall?
Against.
Councillor Heremiah?
Against.
Councillor Bannon?
Against.
Sorry. That's carried, so we will be going into confidential. So for the live stream, it is necessary to take these discussions of... Sorry? page 7. Please bear with me, I've got my learner's plate on. Councillors, please note that we are now in closed session and the audio recording has been turned on. Sorry, is the audio recording being turned off and the motion has been carried and the public live streaming has been turned on? Thank you, councillors. Now we refer to the report's motion of item 8.1. If there is a mover for the report's motion as displayed on the screen. Thank you, Councillor Karansky, for moving that. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? There'll be none. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. First one done.
Madam Chair, I know not all councillors are present for the vote.
Councillor Bannon has left for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That marks the end of the Acting Community Services Manager's report. Is there any general business for Mr. Kanapi? I think he might have stepped out already, so thank goodness for that. So, thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Now we refer to item 4.1. Kim Bryan has been there. Please bear with me. Page 13. I note the associated confidential attachment was distributed to the councillors separately and therefore is required to be tabled as part of this meeting. Is there a mover for the motion to table the confidential attachment as displayed on the screen? Mayor Power, followed by Councillor Raven. And could I please get all councillors to vote on this motion, please? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors.
We now have to do
The
the reports motion.
report's motion.
That's on the next page of 14. And just down here. Is there a move for the reports motion?
Is there a mover for the report's motion as displayed on the screen? We just tabled the report. Now we got to need a mover for the motion. Councillor Power has moved it. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? I'll open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried. That marks the end of the City of Logan Mayor's reports. Is there any general business for Miss Bryan? No. Thank you. Let's move on.
Number 7. This will be Robert that we talked to.
Now I refer to item 7.1. Can the Director of Operational Services, Robert Stratton. There we go. Page 19. Sorry guys, please bear with me. Is there a mover for the report motion as displayed on the screen? Councillor Hall has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? This is Councillor Stamp has moved the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? Now I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. So please just hold on for the minute clerk. So Councillor Power, Councillor Russell, Councillor Hall, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Jeremiah, Councillor Stamp, Councillor Wilcox, how do you vote?
I'm going to abstain.
And Councillor Murphy. So
So we now usually go around to whoever didn't vote and ask if they're against.
could you please put your hands up if you didn't vote and ask, please tell us how you voted. Councillor Bradley.
Abstain.
Councillor Lane.
Abstain.
Councillor Karansky.
Abstain.
Councillor Raven.
Abstain, and I'd like my reason to be recorded in the minutes, please, minute clerks, that I did not have adequate advice to make a decision at this time.
Just bear with us for 1 second. And Councillor Wilcox.
Abstain, same reason.
Thank you. Just bear with us for a second.
Hold on. It's been carried.
Okay, then we move to...
No, it's been carried.
That's been carried. Now we'll move on. Please be advised that the confidential PowerPoint that was presented in the meeting during the closed session and is therefore required to table at this meeting. Is there a mover for the motion to table the confidential PowerPoint as displayed on the screen? Councillor Karansky, followed by Councillor Power. I'll open the floor to vote, please. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. The motion of the table of the confidential PowerPoint has been carried. Is there a mover for the report's motion as displayed on the screen? Councillor Raven has moved. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Stemp has moved. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. That marks the end of the...
If we do that at the end, I'll be here all through.
Do you want to do it now? Or that? We're just going to end that. That marks the end of the the Director of Operational Services reports. Is there any general business for the Director? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the Chair. I've already sent it to yourself as chairperson, to all the councillors and to the minute clerks. And really this is just it's not directed at anyone in particular. It's just a sentiment of what has been discussed amongst a number of councillors, that was what we thought was going to happen. Excuse me. So I'm happy to move it. Thank you.
Is there any discussion required by the councillors? Councillor Karansky.
Actually, it's a question. I'm just actually reading what's up there. My understanding was that the chairs were appointed for the term, but that the deputy mayor was coming back for review every 12 months. Am I correct in that, or am I mistaken? I'm just not sure.
Robert, do you want to enter into the discussion?
That is correct, Councillor Karansky. So at the post-election meeting, it was determined that the Deputy Mayor would be revisited every 12 months, but there was no such requirement to consider chairs. They were basically appointed for the term.
So is this a request to repeal that original position, or are we seeking... I'm just trying to understand what the nature of the report is, sorry.
Councillor Bradley, you're asking for a report to seek whether we want to change the standing of those chairs?
It's not a decision. It is just a question for consideration. It's not saying anyone will lose their position or anything like that. It's being open and transparent for review. We review the Deputy Mayor every year. So it could be that that same person has the position. I don't know. So it really, at the end of the day, if you don't want to vote, don't vote. But if you are supportive of that, that's fine. But it has always been there as an option, historically, that you can review the chair positions.
So I believe Councillor Bradley is just asking for a report at this stage to review that. But I do have Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As I see it, if a chair cannot perform their duties, the council has the opportunity to dismiss a chair and to appoint another one. So I'm not sure whether we want to go down the track of actually reviewing the chair positions on the knowledge of that, given the fact that we've got enough work to do, and this is doing another report and would probably obviously create a lot of discussion, but I don't know whether or not that would be discussion that would create any further advance on where we are. But I recognise that this is a democracy and that obviously we will vote on this and accept the outcome, but I just wanted to state that if anyone's not performing, we can remove them at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Bradley, I'll get you to just finish up and then we'll take it to the vote.
Thank you, through the chair. Once upon a time, and the Mayor and I were talking about this, we would be able to do a mayoral authority and get rid of someone from the chair, and that is not a very nice process for that person to go through. And it happened in my first term. So we don't have that ability anymore. So this is an opportunity to review every year. And if someone's not performing, well, we can have that opportunity, but if they're performing, well, so be it. It's just the same process as it is with the deputy mayor. And personally, I'm not going to be putting my hand up, so it's not like it affects me personally.
But Councillor Bradley, this is only just asking for a report at this stage. Councillor Raven?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is just asking for a report, but it's a report with a very clear agenda. Like it's going to be a report that comes forward and says that the council review the positions every year. There's not a great deal of research that has to go into it. Just speaking as someone who's held a position where it gets reviewed every 12 months, whether or not Councillor Bradley acknowledges it, it is always stressful in the lead up to that 12 months, even if no one else is intending on running against you. Like the last 2-3 months is always stressful, and you're more worried about internal politics than you are about doing your job. So I would suggest that if councillors feel chairs aren't performing well, have a chat to them first, and conduct yourself in a professional and mature manner. And then if you can't get a good outcome out of that, then request that chairperson's position be reviewed, rather than saying to all chair people, hey, you're going to be scrutinised every year, even though you're doing a voluntary role. I don't think it creates a good working environment to have that sort of pattern set up year on year.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. There is Councillor Wilcox, last.
Thanks. We have spoken about this before, and I do have minutes from a meeting where myself and Councillor Bannon did ask for this to be reviewed, and it has been asked before, and it never actually went anywhere. I don't think we actually ever said it would be 4 years. And I'm trying to find the minutes because I actually do have them because I've pulled them up before. But I don't think it actually ever stated it was 4 years as such, and it was meant to come back, but it never has, and that sort of thing. But there are minutes on it, and I do have them. I just
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Kransky, and then I'll put
I'm
it up.
sorry, but that is the question that I just asked Robert a moment ago. Was specifically that.
I can, out of session, circulate the reports from the post-election meeting. The recommendation from working from memory basically doesn't stipulate a term, and as such, the term is the term of council, and then at the following post-election meeting after the next local government elections, the process would be redone. So by default, it's a 4-year term.
That being said, I do appreciate that councillors can make changes at any time. I'm not arguing with that. That was my understanding when I took the role on as the chair, that it would be for the term.
Thank you, Councillor Kransky. So Councillor Bradley has moved the motion on the board. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Harrimeyer has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. 1. So Councillor Bradley, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Harrimeyer, Councillor Wilcox. So can I please ask how you voted as we go around the room? Councillor, Mr Mayor? Against? Lane?
Against.
Councillor Russell?
Against.
Councillor Kransky?
Against.
Councillor Raven?
Against.
Councillor Hall?
Against.
Councillor Stemp?
Against.
And Murphy against. So that's lost. That has been lost. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Bradley, I didn't hear that comment. Can you say it into the microphone for the record?
I definitely will say it to the microphone, and I will say it to you as well, Councillor Raven. I will raise it again another day, or someone else will raise it again another day because it has been raised before.
Thank you, councillors. I think we're going to just move on now. So item 5.1. I will now refer to item 5.1. Can the manager of the Office of the Executive Officer, Rebecca Smith, please enter the discussions? Before we open discussions on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest? Thank you. There being none, I now refer to Ms Smith to open public discussion. Ms Smith, may proceed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. I appreciate you've had a long day. I'm happy to take the report as read. I did, however, just want to make a couple of key comments. One of the key features that's noted in the report is the appreciation of the advocacy team for the work that the councillors did in supporting, discussing and engaging on decision of project priorities early on in the piece. That made everyone's life easier, and it's acknowledged and the councillors are thanked. It's also made note that part of the effectiveness of the results sought from the advocacy campaign was the effective engagement of councillors at both a local level and also at a citywide level. I believe that the campaign showed the residents of the city that councillors and council were effectively advocating on their behalf, and I think that the detailed results in the report outline that. Moving forward, I just wanted to let councillors know the advocacy program has recently moved into the Office of the CEO. We'll be looking at engaging with the councillors individually and as a collective, just to obtain some feedback, but also to create a bit of a plan going forward, with the intention that not all advocacy will be necessarily targeted towards specific elections. It's an all-day, every-day, in and out process, and there are broader stakeholders than just state and federal government representatives, and the team have done some work in that space. So workshops with the team have already commenced to that regard, and we look forward to engaging with you in due course, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Beck. I will now open the floor to the councillors for discussion. I have Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as for the first week of the federal campaign, I was the acting mayor, and having a set list of priorities made it so easy to communicate to both sides of politics about what our priorities were. I remember having clear conversations with Jim Chalmers and his office in the lead up to the election campaign, and being able to point to projects where council had already committed funding, already had an endorsed position of council, already had made it so much simpler. And then the flip side of that, when Bert came and said, hey, how come you're doing announcements with Labor and not with us? I said, well, just commit to one of our priorities and the Mayor will do an announcement with you. It made it so much simpler than what we've had in the past. So I think that was really good, and I agree it should be something that we have all the time. Hey? I know. I think we should have that all the time, so that when councillors get approached by whoever it is, including business, you can say, hey, if you want to invest in something, we've got a project in Flagstone that's worth $2.5 million. Chuck in that. So I think having that around is so valuable and useful. My only piece of negative feedback would be whatever the body is, that you know, Fair Share for Logan or This Is Our Moment or whatever it is, we need to make it consistent and constant so that you build that audience over a long period of time, and you can always leverage that audience in between elections. But I'm sure we'll get there and we do feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Yes, a list is always good. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Bradley?
Yeah, I just want to thank the advocacy team, because obviously Division 1 was a bit of a winner there, so thank you.
Councillors, there is a motion displayed on the screen. Do I have anybody to move that motion, please? Councillor Raven. Councillor Power has seconded it. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Hold it there, please. Thank you, councillors. That has been carried. Councillor Heremar, how do you vote?
Against.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, moving on to item 5.2, and I know it's been a long day, but we're getting there. The 2022 Local Government Association of Queensland Conference, attendance and motions. Ms Smith, can you please enter into the discussions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We will take the report as read. I do have Kirsten and Michael on hand if the councillors did have any specific questions.
Excuse me, councillors, sorry. Because we did a bulk conflict of interest, I forgot to ask, does any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, thank you. Sorry, Ms Smith, please continue.
Through the Chair, I'll take the report as read, but Kirsten and Michael are on hand to answer any specific questions.
Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So report's fine, although I'm not super passionate about the motions we've got up. But this year, the Deputy Mayor asked councillors if we had motions that we want to put forward, which I think is a great idea to nudge us. But it'd be good, and she did it when LJQ gave us a nudge, but it would be good because I think councillors would actually have some motions that we could get behind if we did a bit more lead time and sort of started it 3 months before, because we know when conference is going to be. Because I saw Councillor Wilcox smile when I said I'm not super passionate about it. I don't even really understand one of the motions, and I'm the delegate. So it'd be great if we could spend a little bit of time, maybe God forbid a briefing or something like that, to get some ideas up that councillors either are interested in or would like to see, because essentially LGAQ is a massive advocacy body on behalf of councils everywhere, and it'd be great if we could have something that we can actually point to and go, this is what LGAQ is doing for us this year, this is what your councils are voting for.
Yeah, Ms Smith.
So through the Chair, we had an initial planning session last week, which has created a calendar into 2024, which outlines the election cycle, the budget cycles, the LGAQ and any other relevant council cycle on it, with the intention to come back with a forward plan that we all know that we're all working towards.
Ms Smith,
Thank
you're
you.
all over it. I've still got two councillors, Councillor Bradley and then Councillor Wilcox.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Chair, I want to thank the officers for putting forward on page 69, the one that I put forward, and I'm happy to talk to council's delegates to explain it to you. It's been discussed amongst other councils because I'm obviously our council's representative on that working group, so...
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I have to agree, when I read them I was like, where did these come from? Because I don't remember ever getting any input and that sort of thing, but yeah, I didn't get any input from anyone. And that, so thank you for putting it on the agenda for next year so that we can have a bit more input, because when I went to LGAQ and I did hear the motions last year, I was like, wow, some of those are really, really good. And ours were a bit wishy-washy. Yeah, so it would be very good next year to have a bit more input into them leading into it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Is there a mover for the report's motion that is displayed on the screen? Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Heremiah has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No? I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That marks the end of the Manager of the Office of the Chief Executive Office reports. Is there any general business for Ms Smith? No? Ms Smith, do you have any general business for us at all?
No, I don't, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillors, we're going to move on to item 6.1. We're getting through there quickly, and Miss Bugg is here. I will now refer to item 6.1, the Financial Manager Carolyn Bugg, to please enter into discussions. Before we open the discussions of this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? Great, there being none, now refer to Ms Bugg to open the public discussions, and you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, councillors. I'll refer to item 6.1, being the Executive Financial Report for period ending 30 May 2022. I will just quickly take the opportunity to mention the following points. The operating surplus remains strong at the end of May, with a positive variance against the budget year to date. There are no new risks identified in this reporting period to those that have been previously raised with you, and there are no new variances of significance in this report either. So the variances of significance year to date remain water usage, which is a variance in both expenditure and revenue, and also the employee-related expenditure, which is lagging behind budget. Also noted previously that the financial assistance grant, the portion that we received for next year's grant, but we received it this financial year, is higher than we expected and budgeted. Capital expenditure continues to track under budget year to date, with the delays highlighted earlier in the year being related to the earlier wet weather in this calendar year. Investments, rates and sundry debtors are all tracking well. And just to note that as part of our end of financial year processes, we do comprehensive reviews on all those elements that I've just mentioned. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. I will now open the floor to the councillors for discussion. I have Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question to Robert. In the general comments, we talk about the volatility of power bills, and particularly Queensland. As you know, we have provided alternative sources of power, and I've just wondered whether or not anyone's done any research into how we can reduce our bills with that solar. Do we export the power from the solar panels out and then buy at a highly inflated price back, or do we utilise that power during the day and then import power when the power reduced because of obviously the time factor? I noticed there was some specialised equipment at the pool at Pimpamar, and I'm just wondering, have we explored every other avenue of reducing our power bills? And the other option is obviously, and you would have to get a consultant in whether we should start purchasing batteries.
Through the Chair, you've asked a number of questions there. I know, obviously, we continue to roll out solar to mitigate the cost, and when the contract comes around, we will do our best to try and contract at the cheapest rates in relation to energy. But I note your point that the costs are going up, so I might have to take the balance of your question on notice, if I could, Mayor Power, and get back to you with consult with the appropriate people across council and get back with a response.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Bradley.
Can we all be given that information, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Will you disperse that information? Thank you very much. Councillors, is there any further questions? There is a motion up on the screen. Could I please get a mover for the motion? Councillor Bradley, seconded by Councillor Stemp. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That ends the end of the Finance Manager's reports. Is there any general business for Ms Bugg? Yes, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. I just want to say a big thank you to you and your team. One of the probably most annoying and aggravating issues that was going on in the community has now gone as a result of the diligence of your crew. The property has been sold, the neighbours are very appreciative, and the community can move forward. So thank you very much for working through all the issues. It's very much appreciated. Let's hope we don't have any more like that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Good to see you back at work, Ms Bugg. That concludes your section. Thank you for coming. Councillors, we move on to item 10.1, Annual Donations Update. I will now refer to the item 10.1. Can the Acting Corporate Governance Manager, Ms Anita White, please enter discussions? Before we open discussions to these items, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, I now refer to Ms White to open discussion. Ms White, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, councillors. I had to change my notes for that. Item 10.1 is a follow-up report to a report presented last month, which was deferred. The report provides the additional information that councillors had requested. I'll take the report as read. The one point I would like to make, however, is that we are outlining a proposed approach to working with the 3 impacted organisations to ensure that they're informed of council's decision and have the ability to access grants going forward. The recommendations remain the same, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms White. I open the floor to councillors for discussion. Does anybody wish to speak? None? There's a motion displayed on the screen. Do I have a councillor to move this motion? Councillor Stemp has moved this motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox has moved this. Do any councillors wish to speak to this? No? No? Now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Okay. Are we done? Okay, so we've got Councillor Bradley, Councillor Russell, Councillor Kransky. Councillor Raven, what are you doing?
Against.
Hall 4, Councillor Fraser 4, Councillor Herriff-Meyer 4, Councillor Stemp 4, Councillor Wilcox and Councillor Murphy. So, I know, we're coming back to you, Mr Mayor. That has been carried. Can the rest please put up their hands and tell us how they voted, please? Mr Mayor, against? Councillor Lane?
Against.
Councillor Raven was against.
Against.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for letting us catch up down here. Thank you, Ms White. I will now refer to item 10.2. Before we open discussions on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, I will now refer to Ms White to open the public discussion. Ms White, you may proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Item 10.2 presents 2 policies for review. They are the Grants to Community Organisations policy and the Community Benefit Fund policy. They're presented simply to reflect the change of ownership with the establishment of the Community Grants team, so that the team will then take the lead on that. I took the liberty to do a little tidy up work as well, but they're relatively minor amendments, councillors, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms White. Please be advised that there is an error that has been identified in the attachment to the report. An email was circulated to councillors on Monday containing the updated attachment 3. Therefore, the updated attachment is required to be tabled at this meeting. Is there a mover for this motion to be tabled? An updated attachment is displayed on the screen. Do we have that?
No, just the motions on the screen.
There's the motions on the screen. Thank you. Can I get a mover? Councillor Karansky, seconded by Councillor Bradley. Does anybody wish to speak to the motion? Now I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Is there a mover for the report's motion displayed on the screen? Councillor Stemp has moved the motion. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? Now I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Lucky 10.3. We come to the last one. I know it's been a long day, councillors. I will now refer to 10.3. Before we open discussions on this item, do councillors have any conflicts of interest to declare? None. There being none, I now refer to Ms White to open the public discussion. Ms White, you may proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillors, as you would be aware, Council introduced a green bins program in July last year. The operator of a commercial green waste collection service subsequently lodged a competitive neutrality complaint with the Queensland Competition Authority. Council fully participated in that investigation. The Competition Authority has finalised their investigation and included a report which provides 8 recommendations for Council's consideration.
In accordance with the requirements of the local government regulations, council must now decide whether to implement the Commission's recommendations. I'm happy to take any questions of a procedural nature. How I've got Michael Kona here as the person that dealt with our investigations internally, and Michael Asnikar as the technical expert to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms White. Thank you. I open the floor to the councillors to discuss. I have Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I read the report, great report, addresses the issues, addresses the concerns. There's obviously an overriding issue regarding council, and that is to continue the life of the Browns Plains tip. And I accept what's in here is a good outcome. And I'm quite sure that it will stand to the Commission in regards to our reasonings, and understand that we've got to address these issues when they come up. So I'm happy with the report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Is there any other further discussion? Is there a mover for the report's motion that is displayed on the screen? Mr Mayor has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to that motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. That marks the end of the Acting Corporate Governance Manager's report. Is there any general business? Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. In the previous meeting, I brought up around a report around the PCYC building and its future, the cost to refurb or make it safe. Do you know when that report will be coming forward?
Through the chair, I'm putting on another hat. My understanding was that that report was being led by the Community Services branch.
No, they flipped it to you.
To corporate governance? Or to administration? Robert, sorry.
Yeah. No, administration branch, the administration manager, Kay, was working on that particular report. So our first version has come through ELT. She was sent away to do a little bit more work. I will follow that up and see where it's at, Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. That completes today's agenda. Does anyone have any general business for the Director of Organisational Services? I know we had one, but I just wanted to double check. No? Excellent. That completes today's agenda. Thank you very much, my councillors, for being patient with me and the minute clerks. I declare the City Governance Committee meeting on the 20th of July 2022 concluded at 1:54. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. What really, really irks me is when we make a vote to have a break for lunch, and then that person, one